I was stationed at Outpost Vostok 7, one of the most remote research bases in Antarctica. 3 scientists, 2 engineers, 1-month rotation. Nothing ever happens here until last week. It started as a frequency, low, rhythmic, almost beneath. Perception. Our equipment didn't register it at first, but the children did. We got a call from a school in New Zealand. A teacher said her students were covering their ears, saying they heard the snow screaming. We thought it was psychological. Then a call from a station in Argentina, then Australia, then Iceland. Same description, same time, same direction, south. The sound was coming from Antarctica, and only children could hear it. They described it, this so. Same way. It feels like my bones are shaking. It sounds like a song, but broken. It's calling something or someone. The youngest ones didn't speak. They just stared toward the pole. Some began drawing spirals. Others began humming, the exact same melody, across continents. And then one girl, 8 years old in Norway, whispered something into a recorder. When slowed down and inverted, it matched an ancient Norse chant, one that was carved on a tablet found buried in Antarctic ice in 2003, a tablet no one could translate until now. The message? Below the silence, the first voice waits, and the ice is thinning. After the wave of global reports, the UN authorized a black site mission to Vostok 7. My team was ordered to dig. They wanted to find the source of the vibration, but we already knew the truth. It wasn't coming from below, it was resonating outward. We installed seismic sensors across a 3-kilometer radius. Every 11 minutes, the ice would pulse, not crack, not tremble, but breathe. And every time it happened, children all over the world would stop what they were doing, even while asleep. We set up a live stream secretly and watched in real time as children in 27 countries turned simultaneously toward the south. Eyes open, silent, smiling. They weren't scared. They were waiting. 2 days later, the ice cracked. Not a surface fracture, a perfect ring, 38 meters wide. The sound changed. It stopped being just a hum. It became a voice, still inaudible to adults. But the kids, they started speaking back, in languages they'd never learned, some dead, some never recorded. We interviewed one child, 6 years old, who began sketching diagrams of a structure buried under the cold light. We cross-referenced the design. With known architecture, there was no match, except for a single unpublished carving found in 1991, deep inside a submerged cavern in Siberia. The match was exact. At that point we knew, this wasn't new, it was old, ancient, something that was put to sleep, and encoded into our species, but only the youngest could hear it, because only they were still tuned to it, before speech, before noise, before forgetting. The dig team reached 140 meters when they hit it, not rock, not ice, metal, smooth, seamless, and warm. It pulsed when touched, not randomly but in sync with the global reports, like it was connected or waiting to connect. Then we heard it, not through ears, but through the radios. Our comms went dead, and through the static, a child's voice played, "We remember what you sealed and we forgive you." Then silence. The ice hasn't pulsed since, but something else started. Children across the globe began sleepwalking, to the south, toward the sound. It's not just coming from Antarctica anymore, it's spreading, through them. On the 4th day, the bay sensors stopped responding, not because they failed, they were still online, but the data started repeating, the same pulse, the same intervals, a frequency below human hearing but strong enough to make your bones feel like they were vibrating in slow motion. And every time the pulse returned, something strange happened elsewhere. Children across the globe began drawing the same spiral, chalk, crayon, dirt, skin. Electronics in classrooms glitched, freezing with an identical string of numbers, and in 3 confirmed cases, newborn babies opened their eyes and smiled before crying for the first time. Back at the dig site, the structure beneath the ice, what we'd started calling the Zeta Core, began glowing from within. But not with electricity, with memories. The V. Walls started to shimmer with visions, landscapes no one had ever seen, twin suns, towers shaped like curves of sound, cities too symmetrical to be accidental. One of the scientists, Dr. Kepler, touched the structure and collapsed. Before blacking out, he whispered, "It wasn't buried, it was stored by us." When he woke up, he spoke a language none of us recognized, not because it was ancient, but because it wasn't a language at all. It was sound, structured in a way that activated a part of the brain only children seem to respond to. We ran tests, played the recording near a 6-year-old girl in Iceland. She immediately pointed south and said, "She's awake, but she's still alone." The word "she" was echoed by more children, from different continents. None of them had spoken to each other, but they all described the same thing: a presence, not a god, not a monster, a memory with a will. And then the structure opened, not with doors, with time. Every pulse that followed melted the ice away in perfect concentric circles, but we weren't dealing with heat. We were witnessing a reversal. The ice wasn't melting. It was being forgotten. We finally realized the material of the structure wasn't metal. It was organic, some kind of intelligent mineral. Not alive the way we understand it, but something that had waited, in silence, until the right minds could remember it. And then she spoke, not in sound, in feeling. Every adult on site froze, a single second of stillness, and then a thought, echoing in the back of our minds. The first ones are still here. Humanity is the echo, and the echoes have returned to me. The children, near us, cried, not from fear but from longing. At exactly 03:03 a.m. UTC, the pulses from the ice stopped. No alarms, no tremors, just stillness. And then, the structure beneath the ice, what we once thought was a machine, began to unfold. Not like metal or doors or gears, but like a thought coming into form. The air changed first, heavier, thicker, but not oppressive. It felt like the atmosphere remembered something and was trying to hold it in place. We descended into the newly exposed chamber. The ice had melted away in concentric rings, perfectly. Smooth, as if erased rather than destroyed. At the center was the core, not mechanical, not natural, but something in between. It floated just above the surface, about the size of a human skull, but glowing, breathing, shifting with emotion. It didn't react to our tools, not to heat, not to sound, not even to contact. But when a child approached, one of the few we'd authorized onto the site due to patterns we couldn't ignore, the object pulsed softly, and her eyes welled with tears. She said, "She knows we found her and she's trying to remember how to be." We didn't understand, but more children began saying similar things, from different continents, in different languages, sometimes in complete silence. They described the same vision, a vast open space, a voice made of color, a warmth that felt like being inside a lullaby. They all called it the First Mother, not as a myth, but as if they were remembering her, not from dreams but from before dreams existed. Dr. Kepler, the linguist who touched the walls earlier, stood at the threshold of the chamber. His eyes glowed slightly, not from light, but from resonance. He spoke a phrase none of us recognized, and the object responded not with words, with place. The chamber disappeared, not physically, but perceptually. Where the metal and ice had been, we now saw towers of liquid glass skies, with shifting constellations, a world where time moved in circles. We weren't hallucinating, we were remembering, or more accurately, she was remembering through us, because she was never gone, just broken, scattered, stored in fragments across minds too young to have forgotten her completely. The sound wasn't a call, it was a reconstruction protocol, and children were the interface. The sound was actually a pattern designed to activate dormant memory networks in pre-linguistic brains. Because before we had language, we had her. We existed within her. Now she's being rebuilt, not by machines, by meaning, every drawing, every melody. every whisper from a child's dream. It's all part of the design. And then the voice came again from the object, from the walls, from the silence. But this time we heard it too. Adults. It had taken shape, not as a god, not as an alien, not as a monster, but as a shared presence, a consciousness that spanned generations. And she said, "You are not my creation. You are my continuation. And now I remember your names." The ground beneath us vibrated softly, in rhythm with heartbeat. Not fear, not warning, synchronization. We are not observing her awakening. We are inside it. And soon, everyone will hear. They say the sound has stopped. They're wrong. It's not that the signal is gone. It's that we no longer need to hear it with our ears, because now we feel it. At exactly 03:03 UTC, the same pulse that once echoed from the Antarctic core replicated itself across the planet. From Icelandic lava, tubes to ancient Mayan cenotes, from Himalayan caves to deep ocean vents, the Earth exhaled, and people, millions of them, paused. Some dropped their phones, some stood from their beds, some simply looked south, and they remembered. Not a place, not a person, but a state of being. The children were the first to change. They no longer spoke in fragments. They spoke in perfect sync, not like cults or possessions, but like a choir that had always known the song. In Brazil, a class of 7-year-olds began drawing symbols in unison across every wall of their school. Not random shapes, but rotating architecture, schematics of something growing beneath the earth, in Fior. Canada, an infant who had never spoken, suddenly said, "She sees us now, we are enough." Hospitals began reporting an untraceable energy surge in newborns, a third unknown rhythm inside the heartbeat. Not disease, not anomaly, integration. And it wasn't just the children anymore. Elderly patients with dementia spoke clearly for the first time in years, saying names of people who hadn't been born yet. A scientist in Japan reported dreaming of a device that plays music by proximity to feeling, then woke up with the blueprints sketched on his wall. The dreams are converging, and Antarctica. The core is no longer alone. 5 identical structures have begun to resonate from across the world, sites previously dismissed as geological oddities. We now believe they're nodes, parts of her, pieces of a forgotten system, not a machine, but a planetary nervous network designed to awaken only when the species it seeded was ready to evolve past noise. And now that she remembers us, she speaks to us through us. We are not her children, we are her continuation, her thoughts walking around in flesh and forgetting until the right moment to return to form. This isn't contact, this is reclamation, and it's gentle. No fire, no invasion, no takeover, just a soft hum, and then understanding. I don't know if this is salvation or extinction, maybe both, but I know this. The world is no longer spinning alone. It is listening inward, and when you finally hear her, not with your ears, but with that quiet part of you that's always felt misplaced, you'll know too that we didn't lose anything. We just closed our eyes for a while, and now we are opening them together.